Welcome to the channel, guys. Hope your day is going well. It is your pixelated homie. Today we're going to go over all of the different classes in Revived Witch. There's a total of 6 different class types, technically 7 if you include the witch, who is your main character, but all of them fall under the usual DPS, tank, or healer archetypes. But then you have some that are a mix of multiple different types. So we're going to discuss what they all do, how they function in this particular game. Let's get into it. So first on the list is the Guardian. Guardians in this game are the tanks. Very fitting name. These guys are going to be on your front line. If you do not put your Guardian in the front line, you're playing the game wrong, okay? There are some pretty niche compositions where you might not even have a Guardian, or the Guardian is in the middle row or something, but that's for later game stuff. For the most part, your Guardian is going to almost always be in the front. Now, I might have some people disagree with this next statement, but in my personal opinion, the Guardian is the most important member of the team. And here's my reasoning. You're gonna come to a point in the story where you will not be able to progress unless you have a well-built Guardian. And it's rather early in the game. The enemies start to hit so hard that if you do not have a Guardian to soak up the damage, then there's no progressing. A healer won't be able to keep up with the damage that's being dished out unless they have high scaling on their magic and physical defense, and the only units that have those high scalings are Guardians and a couple destroyers, but I wouldn't recommend using a destroyer as a tank. So my biggest tip to newcomers is to make sure you get yourself a good Guardian and invest in them. They don't have to be the best, but you are going to need a Guardian in order to progress through the game. Next we have the Assassin. Assassins are your physical damage dealers. They usually have low cost skills, so they can attack more faster than the average character, but these guys will be useful if your enemies are weak to physical damage. I will say that Assassins are in a tight spot in Revived Witch as of right now because physical damage teams just aren't as powerful as some of the magic damage teams. That doesn't mean that they're bad though. To be fair, the magic teams in this game are just so powerful and they have good supporting characters, whereas physical teams has less supportive options. So it's kind of hard for physical teams to really keep up, but just keep that in mind. I'm not saying physical teams are bad. It's actually good to have at least one physical damage dealer, but the point I'm trying to get across is that magical teams are very, very powerful in this game. So now our healers, I don't really have to explain what healers do. They heal, okay? That's exactly what they do. They just simply keep the team alive. A lot of them has extra buffs, whether it's shields, extra damage, or whatever, but their main purpose is to just heal. I will say that healers are vital. You need a balanced team in Revived Witch, so this isn't a game where you can get away with having enough damage that you don't need a healer. No, you're gonna need a healer. I'll even say that they're the second most important part of your team, but that's debatable. So now we're getting to the more interesting classes. Next is our Destroyers. Destroyers are another DPS type class, but they're like wild cards. There's 2 classes that are pretty unpredictable because they have traits of multiple classes mixed into one. So from my observation, Destroyers definitely have more defensive stats than the Assassins, and their attack is usually slightly lower than Assassins. Destroyers are kind of a mix between tanks and damage dealers, but I wouldn't use them as a tank because the tanks are just so good at what they do. But for the most part, just think of destroyers as a tankier DPS class. Almost most of them use physical damage, but it's case by case. I know a couple that actually inflict magical damage as well. So the other wild card, Compellers. Compellers are pretty cool. They're usually a mix between mages and healers. A lot of the Compellers have nice buffs or debuffs on their kit, so they're nice to have around. Now Compellers are different from Destroyers because some Compellers can actually be your main healer or even an off healer. I know I've seen some wacky team compositions that uses 2 Compellers and a Mage. So yes, it's possible to steer away from the DPS, tank, and healer trinity. Revive Witch is all about finding those team compositions that work very well together, so don't be afraid to experiment. If you're the type of person that likes to find cracked out compositions, then you're really going to like Revive Witch, I can tell you that much. But yeah, Compellers are your mix between magic damage dealers, healers, buffers. Again, it's case by case. Finally, we have our mages. Mages are of course your magical damage dealers. They have high attack and most of them are just focused on dealing as much damage as possible. They are, in my opinion, the strongest class type in this game. Some of them have buffs and debuffs to help with dealing damage or whatever, and now that I think about it, a couple actually has healing capabilities. So pay attention to their skills, because you can easily overlook something that can be completely busted when matched with another character. So real quickly before I end the video, I wanted to make sure I got a couple points out there. All characters are affiliated with a certain element, but this element typing is only used for a team-wide buff. This buff can be very powerful, but I want to stress that this buff is not needed, especially in early game. Not needed yet, I'll say that. I actually only needed to rely on this buff once throughout my time in CBT, and that was for a later game boss. The most important thing in Revive Witch is finding a team that works well together. You're honestly not even going to be able to take advantage of this buff for some time until you get the right characters. So just be aware that the buff exists and work towards getting a team composition that not only works well together but can also take advantage of this buff. Also, my best advice to anyone just now starting the game would be to just go for the characters you like. The meta in this game is going to change even from what was quote unquote meta in CBT. Honestly, most of the characters will be able to get you through all the content whether they were at the bottom of the tier list or not. I have to stress, play this game how you want, guys. And if meta is fun for you, then I wish you luck with your choices, because the global community as of right now can't even agree on what's actually meta. Like, they really can't. So that's all I got for y'all today. I hope y'all enjoy Revive Witch. Any questions, feel free to ask. Leave a like if you enjoyed the video. It's your pixelated homie. I'll catch y'all next time.